I hate you both. I've hated you ever since I can remember. I hate you, and I wish you both had cancer. Cancer? Yes, in the head.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
Are you telling me you built a time machine out of a DeLorean?
This is the Stupid Cancer Show.
Uh-oh. Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
Hello there, children.
Hey, kids.
People seem to like me because I am polite and I'm rarely late.
Don't worry, I got an idea.
And now, the host of the Stupid Cancer Show, Matthew Zach.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Because he has a lot of chutzpah.
All right.
Hello and welcome to episode 378 of the Stupid Cancer Show, the voice of young adult cancer. I'm your host, Matthew Zachary, a proud 20-year young adult brain cancer survivor, coming to you now from the Chemo Deck, our fabulous studio in downtown Manhattan. Broadcasting since 2007, the Stupid Cancer Show is a production of Stupid Cancer, the largest charity comprehensively addressing young adult cancer, online at stupidcancer.org.
I'm Kenny Kane, co-founder of Stupid Cancer, welcoming all of our first-time and returning listeners. Never miss an episode by subscribing to the podcast on iTunes and following us on SoundCloud.
It is not okay that 72,000 young adults are diagnosed with cancer each and every year. So, got cancer under 40? Sucks, huh? Time to get busy living, folks, because the Stupid Cancer Show is changing the world one chemo infusion at a time. The great show lineup, Keynotes to Life. At the height of her career as an Air Force colonel and physicist, Deanna Won was diagnosed with ovarian cancer and given 1 month to live. Always a great story. Deanna joins us tonight to discuss her strong passion for providing help to those who seek to heal in mind, body, and spirit to lead a life of purpose. And Survivor Spotlight on Hannah Klitsberg, my comrade at arms at Hassenfeld here in New York City, brainstem glioma survivor. All right, let's kick off the show here with a full house and a special in-studio drop-in guest. Hello, Kenny.
Hello.
I understand that you have a vehicle to pick up this week.
I'm getting the Stupid Cancer road trip car.
Which is?
A 2016 Chevy Super Sport Camaro.
You know, that has 500 horsepower. You know.
I think it's 425, but it might as well be.
Yeah, right.
Anything over 150 is more than I'm used to.
You are, yeah, because you drive like a Corolla, right?
No, I'm used to the smart cars in Brooklyn.
Right, yeah, exactly. Well, we're gearing up and we're ready for you. I hope the rest of the country is as well.
Yes.
StupidCancerRoadTrip.org.
That's correct.
And 12 meetups, right?
Yep. Which we will go through
during the news.
During the news.
Yes, exactly. And hello, Mallory.
Hello.
You right?
I am just dandy.
Just dandy. Back to dandy.
I'm back to dandy. We'll see. I might just have to alternate week to week.
Yes. Yeah, we were discussing how I sent you the Hamilton nerds and all of us.
I am a Hamophile.
Yes.
Yes.
I got addicted to the soundtrack while I was on a flight. Man, that's good stuff.
It just makes me so happy. I could literally talk about it for days.
It's really good stuff. And you did see it, or you haven't? You gone?
Haven't seen it yet.
Aren't there like $10 ticket raffles or something?
I enter daily. I have never won.
Okay.
Eventually, it will happen, and it will be the happiest moment of my life.
Fantastic.
Angel won.
I know.
He did?
I need to steal some of his juju, because he said that he just woke up one morning and said, "I'm gonna win," and he won. So I told him if he ever has that feeling again, he's required to contact me immediately.
I got dibs on that one.
And that voice you're hearing is Marianne Steffen, our drop-in guest, prior guest here on the show, which she's happened to be here and said, "Stick around." How are you this lovely evening?
But why did I just happen to drop in?
Because you happen to have gotten a check from a major donor, and we are incredibly grateful, A, for his or her, I don't know the gender.
He's the trustee of the foundation called the J. Penny Gould Foundation. And the reason why the name of the foundation is important is because she had issues as a young adult, and she has passed away. So the foundation does a lot of charity work, and the donor, the trustee of the foundation, wants to really give money to charities that do good work. So I put on the big girl panties today and just
You made the
up.
ask. You made the ask, and they said yes.
Yeah.
Good for you.
You know,
How many years out are you? You had gynecologic cancer.
4 years. My hysterectomy was 4 years ago, last Tuesday, March 15th, 2012. Thank you for the round.
We
of
like our
applause.
cancerversaries.
My NED cancerversary is September 7th.
Okay.
So that's the big one that I really celebrate. But yeah, it's you know, March 15th, 2012 was the day I ceased to ever become a mother of my own biological children, which will really mess you up in the head in this community.
You know, that I keep consistently having conversations with people, and you'd think 9 years later it would never end. Well, why young adults? And the number one issue I say is, well, fertility. And like, oh, I get it. Like it's one word answer the question. Why? Granted, that's not the only reason we focus on. What is the principal hook? I guess if I could be that guy saying a hook as to why we focus on young women and men specifically in their fertile years. So yes,
Yeah.
and gynecologic cancer in your fertile years. Put those two together. Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
Exactly. Well, we're glad you're here. Chime in anytime.
Thank you for having me back. I love you guys. I
know.
love being here.
And you had a Lou spotting, a Mayor Lou spotting, I heard.
I did. Just randomly, he was like booking it down Lexington Avenue, and I just wanted to be like, Lou.
Yeah.
But he looked in a hurry, so I will.
He wasn't in a hurry, just a power walk.
He had a very determined look
Yeah.
on his face, so
Probably trying to catch the bus.
He was trying to catch the bus, actually, yeah.
and that's why I didn't stop him. But so I will give him tons of hugs at
I told him,
CancerCon.
no, I told him you saw him when I saw him this weekend. I showed him your photo. He's like, oh, she should have said hello. It's like you were like Mr. Speed Bullet running down Lexington. Yeah.
Well, he's got tons of hugs in his future at CancerCon.
Yeah. Speaking of CancerCon, sold out, waiting list.
Woohoo!
Yay.
1 month away.
Oh, that means the road trip is like not a month away.
It's a little more than a month.
5 weeks.
It's like 35 days.
Okay.
Let's not jump the gun.
But all things are coming together. It's very exciting.
It's happening.
I'm back on welcome committee, by the way.
Okay, we have better shirts this year for the welcome committee. Not the, hey, look at my giant body chest t-shirts, inappropriate design stuff. It'll be much better this year.
You can wear the shirts out in public without people asking you questions. That's the most important.
Yeah, you're not the information kiosk person at JCPenney walking wearing the shirt. Yeah, I own my bad decisions. It was one of them. Hiring Kenny was the second. Yeah. So the road trip coming up, CancerCon coming up. We have our Denver fundraiser at toast.stupidcancer.org. We'd like to thank Genentech for being our first corporate sponsor. And I understand we have some bronze sponsors that came in. Sean is not joining us tonight. But if you'd like to just support the organization as a fundraiser to donate to toast.stupidcancer.org. That's kind of all we have. Any other news?
This weekend was the half marathon.
Oh, that's right. Oh, my goodness. You're right.
Yeah. We had some
Epic
runners.
props to our runners. Sean sent a very nice email to all of them, thanking them. They all wrote back. What a great group. And I was just talking to someone who we had a little contingency at the finish line that we didn't know about. Like a bunch of stupid cancer people just went to the finish line and watched our people cross the finish line.
And that's always a nice feeling.
Super cool.
There's nothing like running 13 miles and having someone cheer you on so that you actually want to finish and not crawl into the corner and cry. as you typically do when you're running
Yes.
13.1 miles.
And the little known secret of Stupid Cancer is that Kenny ran the half marathon.
I did.
Congratulations.
Not recently.
No, not recently.
Maybe 5 years ago.
When you had no boundary issues, no sense of self-preservation.
If you've ever
And
done
he
it.
didn't train either.
That was an interesting day.
It's fun. It is fun.
Yeah.
When you're done, you feel real good about yourself, and then you want to pass out on the ground.
Yeah, then we kill yourself. Exactly. Well, okay, let's kick off our show. We have our first in-studio guest live sitting right next to me here. Hannah Klitsberg, diagnosed with an inoperable brainstem glioma and secondary hydrocephalus a week after her 7th birthday. She's now 24 and a half years old and graduated Marymount Manhattan College last May with a BA in Studio Arts. Really wonderful woman. Please welcome to the show, Hannah Klitsberg. Hello, Hannah. We're so glad. We love our in-studio guests.
Yes, thank you for having me.
There's nothing quite like making eye contact with people that you're interviewing versus on Skype, which is still good. But I didn't realize, because we can discuss to the ends of the earth how our brains are jello, but we met, like 4 years ago?
Yeah, in 2012.
There was a boat cruise thing
Yes.
for NYU Hassenfeld
Survivorship, yeah.
that I apparently spoke at or something.
Yes, and you were promoting Stupid Cancer, which I wasn't into at the time, but now I'm kind of into it. It's like, really. And the podcasts on iTunes, I listen to them all the time.
We have one listener, folks. One listener. Two. Marion's 2 listeners. Confirmed 2 listeners. Yeah, things were just getting started back then. It was the year that we went from the I'm Too Young for This Cancer Foundation to Stupid Cancer, and no one knew what that meant prior to. And then once we rebranded, Kenny helped me pull all of that together. Facebook was very kind to us to let us change all of our accounts to Stupid Cancer. Yeah, that was a really seminal year for us. And we have the same pediatric neuro-oncologist.
Yes.
Dr. Jeffrey Allen.
Yeah.
Good guy.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. I like him.
Yep. I was mentioning, and by the way, your parents are across the hall.
Yes.
In an undisclosed location.
Yeah.
We can discuss having parents and going through cancer. Jewish parents, no less. We can bond over that.
Yes.
But let's go back. I mean, do you even remember being 7? I mean,
yeah, I remember the traumatic events of the whole process of what I went through. I remember the traumatic process of childhood. I remember going to camp and tripping over myself. I remember just going to camp, not being able to participate in the daily events like the sports because I would automatically faint, or the kids, even the kids, they would be kind of mean.
Sure.
Yes.
Well, they're mean when you're well, let alone when you're not
it's
well.
like, and then when I was about 7, like you said, karma bit one of the people in the butt that made fun of me. So
I like, not that you can like, but I think what's interesting about your story is you went from being a right-handed person to a lefty. How did that happen?
I have no idea. That is kind of mysterious to me as well, because I remember, if I can recall, I remember just like being right-handed 1 minute, and then like just slowly putting the pencil that I was doing my homework with in my left hand and just scribbling with it. I remember, and that's how it all started.
So you have had this sort of creativity bone in your body, but it really started to come out post-treatment.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And it has been there since 2000.
So did you start sketching? Did you draw? How did this manifest?
I started copying pictures on the wall, like paintings, and then I started making my own things, and then I started then when I went to college, it's like, okay, you got to do this on your own. It's like, really, they put let's say a bowl of fruit in front of you, or a piece of like I don't know, an example would. I don't know what an artistic example would be, but let's say a skull, and we'd have to actually do it physically with a chalk or charcoal, and that would be, we'd have to figure it out by ourselves. Yeah, and now I'm doing a Photoshop and Illustrator, and I'm doing things on my tablet. It's very interesting.
I mean, it speaks to how kind of, I was given 6 months to live. You were told your tumors, and and then our main guest here was given 3 months to live with ovarian. Like, it's always that story. You'll never do anything. You're doomed, and you recovered and you got through it. And you were so young at the time. How did that sort of reintegration back into school? Were you homeschooled or went back to public school?
That's a funny story. Well, when I was diagnosed, I was in a public school right near my house, PS 175, and I went to a private school the next year for kids with learning disabilities, and that's how everything, I was dropped into that school, or should I say gently placed, and then I scooted into the high school in 2005, and then I graduated in 2010.
So can we talk about deficits? Because cancer can be the gift that keeps on giving. It's a reality that a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah.
And when you don't look sick, which you clearly don't look sick, it's the worst thing.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
What have you had to deal with over the years?
Let's see. Well, sometimes I'm not an organized person. I'm trying to become an organized person, but I somehow can't. It's like, really, I look at organized people like, oh, they must have played Tetris as kids. How do they do it? So it's like, really, that's how I think of organized people. But then it's like, okay, it's just amazing. Tetris. That's how I think of organized people. Especially my mother. It's
Right.
Like, really. Yeah.
Well, we can talk about your parents. I mean, I was 21. My dad was 47. You were 7. Your parents were probably in their 30s or 40s.
Nope.
No?
My mom was 40. She's 40 years older than me, so she was 47. My dad was 46.
Okay. So, but still, that they have to deal with a 7-year-old child. Do you have siblings, or were you at the time?
I'm an only child.
Okay.
I have cousins that are somewhat, close to me in that regard.
Got it. So in terms of like the post-traumatic stress and meeting, did you get to meet? I understand with Hassenfeld, there's an organization that we've had on the show called Making Headway, founded by Maya and Edward Manley. I've been a part of that group since I was diagnosed. They were founded in 1997, the year after I was sick. And they're a great group. They do amazing work. Can you talk to us about how you met or got integrated with their programs?
I think I was about 10 or 11 at the time when I went to my first Making Headway Foundation event in 2002. And it was on Father's Day, and that's how we were introduced. And then I went to Hassenfeld and their new location now ever since I was 10, or excuse me, not 10, 12, yeah.
But you've met other, like during your time, the other teenagers going through this.
Oh, yeah.
You got to network and find your community.
Yeah, and I'm friends with one of them, yeah.
And now you're part of the Stupid Cancer universe that you can never escape.
Yeah. Well, definitely. Definitely. Yeah, I appreciate this very much. And did you get the name from Ned from what Homer Simpson says?
Yes, I did.
Oh my God.
She's the first person that didn't have to ask the question, why is it called stupid cancer? Because it's what Homer Simpson would say if he were sick.
Yeah, oh my God.
It's that obvious. It's not even funny. It's just that obvious.
Yeah, I love The Simpsons. I love Back to the Future. I love all the movies that you like.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yet you're like 20 years younger than me.
Yeah, I'm going to be 25 in 7 months, which is kind of scary. I'm just thankful I haven't gone to a quarter life crisis yet.
Yeah. No, they come. Don't worry. They definitely come. Let's talk about your BA, because you just graduated. That's a really big deal, a major milestone for anyone. But for you who has to face these challenges, what did you study there, and how was it for you?
Okay, well, I studied 2 things, but I had to drop one of them. I majored in 2 things. Dropped the one that I liked the most, and I minored in art therapy. Had to drop that my last year. That was interesting. I studied studio art, and basically with that, you just have to draw let's say a ball, or a vase, or let's say a skeleton again on your own. You just got to figure out how to do that and do it the best way you can.
Where do you draw your inspiration from?
Well, in college, it was just right there in front of me. I'm looking at a lamp now. What do I see? I had to draw a lamp. So, but now that I don't have to go to, college or to school anymore, my inspiration comes from, as the French artists would say, from plein air. So that's it just pops out of my head.
That's cool. What are you working on these days?
I have a friend who's working or helping me build a website that's got basically all my electronic art on it. And I'm very interested in, tattoo designs or, anything like that. I was thinking about doing tattoo art for veterans of war, or even people who have amputees for medical reasons, or even cancer survivors, because they can have scars. It's the same thing.
Hell yeah. Where's your scar?
Here.
In the back? Yeah, mine too.
And on my stomach.
Mm-hmm. So you had just the principal surgery back then, and you went on the Temodar regiment.
Yes.
Are you still on that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It's like, really? For a number of years, 17, 18 years? I don't think so.
So how often do you go back to see Dr. Allen and get scans?
I go to him every August. And that I've been doing that since I was in high school, since I was 13.
Wow.
So yeah, that's big.
Yeah, I'm 20 years out. I'm going to go see him next month.
Oh, okay.
It's the gift that keeps on giving. It's always fun.
Yeah, I guess it's something that doesn't affect. It's not as long lasting on kids, but it's long lasting on an adult. So it's kind of hard for an adult, and I can see how demanding it would be for you.
Well, I mean, it's a trigger. It's always a trigger. We use the phrase scanxiety here, and I noted we can wrap the interview up talking about post-traumatic stress, because that's all it really is. Marion, we talked about this extensively. There's nothing more stressful than the wake of dealing with consequences. We're thankful to be here in the first place, but now how do we get busy living? What does that mean to us?
Yeah. You're asking me?
Yeah, how do you get busy living. Clearly, you are a creative mind. You're doing great work. You graduated from college. That's a really big deal.
Well,
Don't undercut yourself. It's a really big deal.
Yes. Well, how do I get started living? I work at I have a part-time job at, this place in Manhattan. I'm just glad I have it, and I'm glad I'm starting to build up. I'm starting to build up financially, and I'm starting to build up for myself. My own account, I'm very happy I have it. That's all I'm going to say. And, it's like one day I want to get my own apartment, and I want to, but it's difficult because it's like I have this condition. How can I get away from it? Like being with your parents as a teenager, it's like, please don't do this. Not in front of my, my high school chumps.
Right.
Who didn't really mind it, but it's like, okay, I don't want you to do this. It's bad. Not good.
Right. So final question here is, you meet someone else that's young or had a brain stem or some kind of brain cancer. What is the message that you would like them to know based on what you do today?
Don't give up. Just don't give up. Don't give up. Keep fighting the good fight. You can make it.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Hannah Klitsberg, thank you so much for joining us. You're not going to be you're stuck for us forever, so you're never going away.
Yay!
But thank you for joining us again on the Stupid Kid. Brainstem glioma survivor Hannah Klitsberg. Thank you so much. All right, Kenny, and now the news.
Hello, I'm Kent Brockman, and this is Eye on Cancer.
Just the facts, ma'am.
Head on over to events.stupidcancer.org. That is events.stupidcancer.org. Sign up for meetup alerts and never miss an event again. If you'd like to learn more about hosting your own Stupid Cancer meetup, visit stupidcancer.org/meetup. All right. I'm exhausted just looking at this list. We have a couple of Stupid Cancer meetups, one in Anchorage, Alaska, one in Gilbert, Arizona, one in Anaheim, California, and then the Stupid Cancer road trip kicks off, and that will be happening in Boston, Buffalo, Columbus, Ann Arbor, Chicago, Milwaukee, Minneapolis, Billings, Seattle, Anchorage, Portland, and Salt Lake City.
Gesundheit.
And also New York and Denver on the bookends, yet to be planned.
No one should face cancer alone because isolation sucks. Download Instapeer for iPhone, iPad, and Android. Create your account and instantly start chatting with someone just like you who's been there and walked in your shoes. Join our community of thousands of cancer patients, survivors, and caregivers right now on your mobile device. Instapeer.
We launched a newsfeed aggregator on Tumblr for all the articles, blogs, and stories we couldn't possibly have the time to post on social media. Check out what we're reading 24/7 and don't miss a beat. Subscribe at stupidcancer.org/feed.
For young adults, clinical trials are a red-hot mess, so we are throwing our hat in the ring to make some sense of the madness. Introducing I Am Not a Trial. Real young adults, real faces, and real stories plucked straight from the Stupid Cancer community. Watch the entire video series online now at IamNotATrial.com.
Support our programs and services by heading over to stupidcancerstore.org. You'll feel great and look great in your new Stupid Cancer gear. That's stupidcancerstore.org. Be proud. Wear Stupid Cancer. And that is your Stupid Cancer News.
Deanna Won is the founder of Keynotes to Life. She's a speaker, author, leadership consultant, and holistic health coach who inspires people to reach their highest potential through integrating leadership principles with purposeful and healthy living. She's also an Air Force colonel and physicist diagnosed with ovarian cancer who was once given 1 month to live. Gotta love the PR behind this. Please welcome to the Stupid Cancer Show, Deanna Won. Hello, Deanna.
Hello, Matthew. Thanks so much for having me on here.
No, it's a pleasure. I don't think in the history of the show, which is like 9 years now, I've used the words Air Force colonel, physicist, and ovarian cancer survivor in the same sentence. That's cool.
Well, thanks.
We had veterans on the show before. One of our ambassadors in the LA area was in Afghanistan. He got leukemia because he was in charge of radiation checkpoints and stuff. So he got honorably discharged, but he came home and had to deal with cancer and slowly rebuilt his life. But I can only imagine cancer in the military, and it's a whole other ballgame.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can definitely attest to the fact that I feel like I was also exposed to, radioactive materials, and that could well have contributed to my getting cancer as well.
So you when did you join the military?
Well, it all started back in 1984. I was selected to attend the U.S. Air Force Academy, which is like the West Point of the Air Force. And so it's been a number of years. And then when I graduated 4 years later with my Bachelor of Science in Physics, that's when I received my second lieutenant commission and have been serving for over 26 years.
Very impressive. So let's talk. We have a drop-in guest here tonight, Marianne Steffen, who's one of our advocates here in New York City, but she had a gynecologic cancer as well. And we often talk about why is stupid cancer focused specifically on young adults, and fertility is a big thing when you're not 80. So was that something that you had to navigate through when you were diagnosed?
Absolutely, yes. Because when I was going in for surgery, the first surgeon that I talked to wanted to actually do a complete full hysterectomy. And I said to him, no, my preference is if there are any healthy organs in place that you leave it behind, leave it in my body, in other words. And he did not like that. He basically responded back to me and said, I want to ensure that you have the best chance for success with the surgery, and that's our standard, protocol. And so, he told me in no uncertain terms, if you don't want to do it this way, you can take your health care elsewhere.
Wow.
And yes.
That's called bedside manner.
I know.
I
think that's really funny when you talk about the standard protocol, because cancer is like snowflakes. Not any cancer is like anybody else's cancer. So why is there a standard? Why is there a cancer protocol? Why is there?
Right. Exactly.
Why are we not having our oncologists look at us differently like snowflakes? Because
they're largely bedside manner. They're largely statisticians, and that's a little weird. Like if you don't want our business, go shop somewhere else. How did you react to that? Did you smack him?
I basically did. I told him that I did not want him to do my surgery, and I promptly complained against him and told the hospital that he was not going to cut on me and that I wanted a different surgeon.
But not every patient is like.
Yeah, she came proactive.
Us.
You came to the table proactive.
Yes, that's right. I really feel that's important because I think that we ultimately should be responsible and have authority over our own bodies. And I think that too often patients, they kind of look to the doctors, and I do respect them, so I don't mean to bash them, but, they give up full authority and responsibilities of, their bodies over to the experts.
Right, exactly. So ovarian has no symptoms that were. How did you know that you needed help?
It's by accident. I was actually, I just got out of the car in the parking lot. It was wintertime, and I slipped on ice, went airborne, landed on my tailbone, and promptly had to be taken to the hospital because they thought I had fractured my tailbone. And it was incident to that scan that they said, oh, by the way, it looks like you have a cyst on your left ovary. And that's how I found out.
Well, that's karmic, wacky, insane. I can't think of adjectives. It's terrible. That's ironically how my brother-in-law was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma. He was I think he was 13. He was on a skateboard, and he fell on his coccyx, and he went for an X-ray, and they found Ewing sarcoma in his spine. So, I guess you and that's a rare club to be in. I fell on I just took a random slip and fall and got cancer.
I know. That's interesting.
So, all right. So you made the brave decision to give this guy the bird, and you got the next person?
Yes, I got the next person, and I was grateful that he was respectful of my wishes. And I think, ideally, that's how it would be with all doctor-patient relationships, that it's a partnership, a team, because ultimately it's, it's my body that has to deal with the consequences of what goes on. And so he agreed. And, I even went so far as to tell him that even if I had swollen and red lymph nodes, to not sample them and to leave them in place, which I know they probably thought I was crazy, but I'd done enough research to, know that our lymph nodes, it's such an important part of our immune system.
Exactly. So was there a conversation about your reproductive risks?
Well, yes, they definitely said that if you leave these organs in place, that it does increase your chances for a recurrence. But I still, I had to do what I felt more aligned with who I was internally. And so I said, that's fine, because I just believe that, we don't have organs put in our body for just, for people to take, cut and take out. It's there for a purpose.
And may I ask if you are a parent now or are able to bear children? Do you know where you are in that spectrum?
I'm actually able to bear children still. I'm not a parent, but I always kind of want to keep all my doors open.
Right. Again, because Marianne here and our friend, they had hysterectomies, and it was kind of the doctor's decision to do that.
I had a little. I was actually type stage 2 in the beginning, and I actually had a little back and forth with my mother about keeping my ovaries.
Right.
Because I had a cervical tumor and the entire uterus. I have endometrial cancer, which is the lining of the uterus. So my cervix and uterus were definitely out of it. So I wanted to keep my ovaries. My mother was absolutely against it. I told my oncologist I wanted to keep them, and she strongly recommended having them go. And when they had done the surgery, when she did the surgery, she found that I had cancer everywhere along my abdominal cavity and on my bladder and the ovaries. So my entire reproductive system had to go, and everything else was, my bladder was fine. It was coated in cancer. So I was able to have that in my abdomen, my abdominal cavity spared because of the chemo.
So, Deanna, your protocols then were, did you have chemo or just the surgery that just removed one ovary?
They just had the surgery and removed one ovary. They wanted to do chemo a number of times, and they wanted to do an additional major surgery, but I declined further treatment.
So you just had the surgery and then took the risk at this point. I'm sure did they make you feel bad for saying no to them?
They did for a good long while, and then after my surgery, it's interesting. They gave me about 3 weeks to think about whether or not I would proceed and follow their recommendations. But when I went back for that follow-up appointment, my surgeon then said, based on how things looked, he really didn't see a need for me to go through with chemo, and that was a surprise to me.
Well, at least you had some kind of legitimate academic opinion in that favor.
Yes, but certainly early on, they wanted to do chemo, and I just kept refusing.
No, and we've had many people on this show that declined. I mean, I declined chemo because it would not wasn't going to help me. It was 20 years ago, and they said I was crazy. So, I get that. And have you ever found that there's a sense of survivor guilt that oh, you didn't have chemo, like you get stigmatized for only having surgery?
Yes, I do feel that honestly from time to time. And, because I chose to also greatly modify my diet and I use a lot of holistic alternative means, sometimes I find some people, they feel somehow maybe threatened by that, if they chose to do something different. And so it's kind of been an interesting journey.
So prior to your diagnosis, were you already fit and well and healthy and aware of nutritional, decision making? Or you were like living at Taco Bell?
No, I actually was very aware of fitness. I was actually a nationally certified fitness instructor for 8 years. And so it's always been a huge part of my life. I always watch what I ate. But so, yeah, when I found out about my diagnosis, I was really shocked. It was the last thing I expected. And I also got genetically tested, found out that it did not, I did not inherit this, ovarian cancer. So I know that I picked it up, just acquired it through, environmental exposure to toxins or maybe how I handled stress as well.
Right. And again, we've had like health coaches and nutritionists and dietitians and athletes on the show, and they've all gotten cancer. So is there really such a thing as prevention?
I really believe there is. In retrospect, I mean, I know it's kind of hard because no one really wants to think that, it's their fault, because it's not like that. I'm not trying to assign blame or anything. That doesn't help at all. But I think certainly being aware of, whatever different environmental toxins are out there, and just being aware of the foods we eat, because certainly with the GMOs, genetically modified, organisms that we have out there, it definitely increases, I think, one's chances for developing cancer.
I was having a really interesting conversation a couple of weeks ago with a doctor about if you're into this preventative mode, how do you know you prevented something? Because you never got it. It's like this catch-22 of like where your brain explodes.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like that. We know people who maybe smoke and they never develop lung cancer. No,
like George Burns, exactly.
Right.
101,
right.
Smoked every day. Perfect died of perfect health.
Right.
So this list of credentials, I just want to run a few of them off because, again, I don't think I've ever repeated these words in this order. Bachelor's of Science in Physics, Associate Arts in Music major, Master's of Science in Administration, Master's of Military Operational Art and Science, and you study piano performance at San Francisco Conservatory of Music and the Eastman School. That's a lot.
Yes, I have a lot of different interests.
I'm a concert pianist by trade as well. I went to school in Binghamton. I didn't get into Eastman, so I had to settle for a state school. But it was I had a lot of fun there. But
wow, that's great.
Do you still play now, today?
I do. It's a huge part of me. It's something that I realized probably too late. I mean, early on, I wanted to become a concert pianist just full time, but I was told by my parents that you can't really make a solid living like that, and that's how I ended up doing what I did in the Air Force.
Exactly. All right, so to your credentials here, you are now the founder of, or you have been the founder of Keynotes for Life, or Keynotes to Life. Tell us more about how you've taken your story, this intense LinkedIn profile, the like of which I haven't seen before, and how you're channeling it now to help people.
Yes, I go around the country now. I speak at different conferences, whether it's to medical doctors, cancer researchers, or to even, high school students, because what I like to do is tie in the leadership lessons I've learned while serving in the military, because I certainly applied those in handling my own, personal crisis with healing. And I think those lessons can equally be applied to a business setting, or any setting where decisions have to be made and there's a mission to be accomplished. And the other side of what I do is in holistic health coaching. And so I help my clients, 100% of them at this point in time, they all have cancer, and some have actually done quite well. And I help them along the full spectrum, whether it's, in the physical, emotional, or spiritual realm. And so in the physical realm, I help them with their nutrition, with exercise, and everyone is different. I really believe in bio-individuality. And it's important to look at the emotional arena too, because often unresolved conflicts will manifest themselves physically. And so I help my clients to identify, what some of the core beliefs they have that may not serve them. And if they're open to working in the spiritual area, I help them in that area as well.
So I'm reading here, you are a certified health minister for the Hallelujah diet. You've piqued my interest.
Yes, and ironically, that is actually my first foray into changing my diet. And it's interesting because 3 years before I even knew that I had cancer, I was actually in the Pentagon bookstore, just went in to look for some books. And as soon as I went in there, the sales clerk there said to me, "Oh, you've got to get this book. This is the best book," and it was called The Hallelujah Diet. And at the time, I was thinking, I'm not into diets, I'm into lifestyle changes, but certainly the hallelujah part of it I found intriguing. So I purchased the book and I started reading it that same night, and I couldn't put it down because the author had basically had a baseball-sized tumor in his colon. And within a year of changing his diet, his tumor disappeared, no more cancer, and all of his other physical issues disappeared. And so that's how I started dabbling in this eating organic, raw, vegan, and juicing.
I've always postulated, I'll use an SAT word tonight, on the show, how many vegans get cancer? And there's no data in this country to show that. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I'm just curious, going back to what I alluded to before, that you could do all the right things, whatever right means for you, and still get sick.
Absolutely. I think there really are no guarantees. But, as far as that study, if you look at, there's a study that's been done out in Loma Linda, California, because there's a large population of Seventh-day Adventists who practice, eating vegan. And it does show that they have lower rates of cancer across the board. It's a very interesting study.
I would love to see that study.
I'll see if I could get a copy of it. I know I've discussed that particular study with my doctor.
No, it's data. Like, I'm a data wonk. I come from the advertising industry, so I like data. I like to see numbers, quantified data. But it just fascinates me. Again, where so many people that are getting sick more, especially in the under 50 crew. Cancer incidence in boomers and geriatrics increases because of early detection, where they're just finding more of it. But actual biological incidence increase in the under 50 is legit. So we're getting it not because we're old, we're getting it because of, like you said, diet, environment, things you can and can't control. But let's talk about the things you can control.
Well, the things that you can control are your attitude, how we handle stress. Instead of internalizing things, I think it's important to learn how to process them in a healthy way. That includes meditation. And I'll tell you, it took me the longest time to be able to slow down enough. It wasn't until I was literally on my deathbed that I learned, the importance of meditation. And some of the other things we can control, certainly the foods that we put in our mouth, because even the Chinese have a saying that sickness originates from our mouths, things that we put into our mouths. And so I think that's something that's maybe hard for people to do, but at the same time, if you think about it, if we can, create more awareness in people, then they'll realize, for example, with, sugars are just hidden in all the different foods that we eat. And unless you develop that awareness, things like high fructose corn syrup, which is really bad for your liver, you can do a lot of damage without even knowing.
No, and I agree. This is nutrition and cancer is something we've addressed at our events, at our webinars, our conferences, and in meetings since day one that we were started 9 years ago. It's a hot button topic too, because honestly, for some people, if you're on chemo and you're nauseous, you're not going to go out and buy organic kale. You just want Carvel, and that's what's going to satisfy you for the day. So how can you reconcile, reality with necessity and biology?
I really think that our taste buds can actually be reprogrammed in a way. Certainly when I grew up, I grew up eating everything. I ate, beef, chicken, pork, fish, just everything, dairy, lots of it. And but when I ended up in a hospital on a morphine IV, realizing that it did absolutely nothing to relieve any of my excruciating pain, that's actually when I made the decision. I knew what I had to do, and I just became vegan literally right then and there.
Right.
And it takes a while. The first 5 days, you'll feel kind of lousy, and you think you're starving and you can't make it. But then after that 5 days, it seems like something in your body switches and it becomes easier. So now for me, I find that, as long as I'm eating what I normally eat, mostly raw vegan, I feel great. And if I somehow deviate, I can feel the difference. My body reacts differently. So that kind of keeps me, going.
Yeah, I just went on a 40-day legit detox, not a like a Apple diet. It was a real thing, and I have energy for the first time in my life, and I lost 28 pounds of brown fat. So
wow,
and I'm not tired anymore. So I'm the byproduct of everything you just said. It's very strange to not be tired all the time and to feel your bones. That I had bones. I didn't know I had bones. So something as innocuous as that. And I'm all for it, and I get it. And I actually had a silver dollar pancake with my son, and I passed out for 3 hours. So I
yes.
Totally get, that's how I used to eat, and it makes sense that I passed out for 3 hours with a dime-sized pancake. How are you doing these days, all these years later? Do you have any side effects? Or, you didn't have the chemo, but we talked about post-traumatic stress, and as a military vet, that's an issue. That's a hot-button issue now. We talked about that in the first segment with our two survivors here on the show. Is that mindful meditation? Is that another way of dealing with that?
Yes, absolutely. I think breathing is huge. Learning to slow down to breathing and to breathe deeper, because we often, we're kind of, I think, conditioned to just kind of do shallow breathing. And I think for me, certainly the trauma of being truly confronted with my own mortality and going through the major surgery, that's something that I have had to process even, months, years later.
So I want to talk about your book, but there was one question you asked that I think is interesting to ask. Why do you think so many people are struggling with their health? Because McDonald's is cheaper than farmers markets. That's why.
And people who need those who eat McDonald's and who have public assistance don't know that they can use public assistance at farmers markets.
Right. So our entire culture is backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so that wasn't a real question. I just wanted to that we have these really, it's too easy and too cheap to eat bad in this country, and that's when most people choose to do it. And not to make this about me for a second, but it was really hard to remember to go to the store, remember to buy the spinach, and it was I had to change everything.
What's crazy is there is a documentary on Netflix called Cooking. We're genetically made to cook, but our culture is slowly killing that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's just ridiculous.
So let's get back to, so you're writing a book. We always love when people are writing the book. It reminds me of, A Dark and Stormy Night from Peanuts, that someone's just writing a book. But what is your book about?
The book is basically about my story. It first starts off with my service to this country, how I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer when I was still active duty, and how I went into hospice, given a month to live, and how I healed through holistic and alternative means. And so I want to share, some very basic principles that I use to heal myself, so that hopefully others won't have to end up in the same boat that I did, because I could never have imagined going through the amount of suffering and pain that I did. And if I can just, help one person, it will have made my own journey worth it.
Again, incredibly inspiring. The list of things I have to repeat to let the listeners know who you are is endless. Deanna Won, founder of Keynotes to Life. What's the website?
It's DeannaWon.com. So it's Deannawon.com.
And speaker, author, leadership consultant, holistic health coach, Air Force colonel, physicist, young adult ovarian cancer survivor who was given 1 month to live, associate music, and concert pianist. What else are you? Tell me something I don't know you are.
Well, I love studying languages, foreign languages, and yeah. So I don't know. There's a lot. I have a lot of different interests. I'm into live blood microscopy as well. Just love looking at live blood and seeing what you can learn from it based on what you're eating.
You had me at live blood microscopy.
It's basically where you can look, when you go into a lab to do a standard lab test, what they do is usually they stain the blood and, it's been fixed. When you look at live blood, it's still alive. And so you can actually see what's floating around in your blood, whether you could see the white blood cells, you could see if your red blood cells are malformed, they're not carrying enough oxygen, or if they're all clumped together because, you've eaten too much meat or too much sugar. It's a very interesting area. And you could see little forms. They're called protids, actually. And they change based on the environment of the blood, and they can change into things like bacteria, fungus, things like that, but it doesn't have to develop down that line. And so that, to me, really provides compelling evidence for, just watching what we eat nutritionally, because it has such a huge impact on our blood.
I'm just going to say, Deanna Won, remarkable human being. Thank you for joining us on this, and thank you for your service to our country. Thank you. Congratulations on surviving stupid cancer, and good luck with everything you do.
Oh, thank you so much, Matthew. It was great being on here with you.
All right. Take care. Be well.
Okay. Thank you.
Marianne, did you want to just hit up on the PTSD again? It's the theme for the night.
Yeah, I would really love to. Being a part of this community, this stupid cancer community, as the people in this room know, I've been very, very involved and very active for the last 3 years. It can be a little overwhelming, and I myself have had some issues recently, which is why people haven't seen much of me recently. Yeah, it's a little hard when you see friends who have passed on. You know it's coming. You don't know if who it is going to hit, but it does come for people, and it just takes over sometimes, and just
it's the trigger, it's the reminder, and we live and breathe with our own community out there, and we know what people are going through in active treatment, surviving cancer, relapsing. We know it. It's the world we choose to live in.
And how do you handle that along with
alcohol?
Along with dealing with your own stuff, because sometimes, like, you personally feel like you're breaking down.
Yep.
So it's just
you find your rocks.
Yeah, and you feel like they're coming right towards your face.
Well, we can do an entire series of shows on navigating PTSD and living in your own world, living in
an emotional bubble.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. Hannah for the win.
Yes, definitely. But one thing I really want to communicate to everybody, I've been very remiss in talking to my stupid cancer family, because I've been very withdrawn from everybody in my stupid cancer family, and I feel really horrible about that because I love all you guys. But I've been talking to my outside friends and family, and however you get it out of yourself, you just need to get it out of yourself. So,
well, on that note, another great episode of the Stupid Cancer Show, and it is now time for our closing sequence.
Prepare to activate.
I hear there's rumors on the internets.
You ever seen a grown man naked?
And so, to all of you, a fond farewell.
Hooray, I'm helping.
You are a meathead.
Oh, Magoo, you've done it again.
That was so terrible, I think you gave me cancer.
Okay, folks, that's our show, the 378th episode of The Stupid Cancer Show. Never miss an episode by subscribing to the podcast on iTunes and following us on SoundCloud.
I'd like to thank our guests, Hannah Klitsberg and Deanna Won, and Marion Steffi for dropping in tonight. Broadcasting since 2007, The Stupid Cancer Show is a production of Stupid Cancer, the largest charity comprehensively addressing young adult cancer, online at stupidcancer.org. Coming to you from the chemo deck. And on behalf of my team here at The Stupid Cancer Show, we hope you had as much fun as we did poking a stick at Stupid Cancer. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you back here on the next exciting podcast of The Stupid Cancer Show. Goodbye, folks.